morning, everyone. Welcome to Education USA's Saturday webinars in India. Thank you for joining us. Today's session is on Curricular Practical Training and Optional Practical Training, commonly referred to as CPT and OPT. Before I introduce today's speaker, I'd like to share some information about who we are and what we do. Education USA is a US Department of State supported body, and our mandate is to provide accurate, current, and comprehensive information to students looking to pursue higher studies in the US. We have 7 advising centers in India and over 400 worldwide. For more information, please visit educationusa.state.gov. In our efforts to reach more students, we conduct virtual information sessions twice a month on Saturdays at 10 a.m. We invite you and your friends to join us for these sessions where you can learn more about the different aspects of higher studies in the US. At this point, I'm going to ask all participants to type into the chat box if you have any technical issues, and I will respond there and try to help you deal with them. At the end of the session, there will be time for questions and answers, so we ask you to reserve your questions till the end. For today's session, our speaker is Dr. Ryan Pereira, who is the Regional Officer at USIU of Mumbai. Ryan, hello and welcome to the Saturday webinar. Thank you so much for taking the time to present the session. We are ready to begin. The floor is all yours.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the session. There we go. Today's session is on CPT and OPT. So we're going to talk about what CPT and OPT are and how you can use these programs to gain practical experience while and after you study in the US. As Deborah mentioned, we are Education USA, which is the US Department of State supported body. We provide accurate, current, and comprehensive information. And we are located in around 170 different countries worldwide. So the goals of today's talk are to understand what your opportunities are as an F1 student for optional practical training and for curricular practical training. And when I mention the term OPT, it stands for optional practical training. And when I mention the term CPT, it will be curricular practical training. So under the current rules on the F1 regarding work, you can work on campus for 20 hours a week while the school is in session, and up to 40 hours a week can be permitted during the summer or the university breaks. And most people work in areas like the library, the computer labs, the admissions office, okay, for this on-campus work. In addition to this on-campus work, you get to work off-campus if it is either CPT or OPT. You cannot work off-campus while you're an F1 student unless you've been granted the CPT or OPT. So what are these two things? Okay. The ideas behind having this work authorization, CPT and OPT, is the idea behind the CPT and OPT is to give students the opportunity to use the knowledge they gained during their undergraduate or master's program in real life scenarios. Okay? And so it's part of the educational experience. The American educational experience is to take what you learn in the classroom to real world experiences. Okay? And there are two options available: the curricular practical training, which is usually always done during your studies. So you can do curricular practical training only while you're currently a student. Okay, you may haven't graduated from that program. Optional practical training can be done either during the studies, it's called pre-graduation, or most commonly it's done after you graduate. So what are the differences between CPT and OPT, and why should you all know these differences? One of the big things about CPT is that it it is a program. You have to do this internship in order to graduate. Your classroom training is not complete without this internship. That is the bottom line with curricular practical training. So when you do this internship, you're signing up for credits. So it's like taking a course. Okay? You can do CPT only if it is required as part of your academic program. So, for example, if somebody is doing a business studies undergraduate and the university says it will be good if this person gets some practical work as well before they graduate, then that university has the option of saying the student can do one semester of CPT as part of his or her degree program. As I mentioned, CPT is available only to those who have not yet graduated. So you're still a full-time student. Something to keep in mind is that CPT can be done for up to 12 months. If you do full-time CPT for 12 months, then you lose part of your OPT. So if you work for more than 20 hours a week on your CPT, then it's going to cut into your OPT. And most of the cases, CPT starts only after you've been on the US campus for one academic year. So after you've completed 2 semesters or 3 quarters, then you can do the CPT. Usually, there are always exceptions, but usually CPT is done after you've been there for 1 year. The OPT is usually done after you've graduated from the program, whether it's undergraduate, whether it's a master's program or a PhD. Now, those students, OPT is 1 year of full-time work experience given to all students, regardless of what you studied. However, if you studied and you graduated with a degree in STEM, which is science, technology, engineering, or math, then you can apply for an extension of the OPT for an additional 24 months. So you can get up to 3 years of optional practical training. And some of these fields of study that come under STEM might, they're not, while engineering and computer science are the obvious ones, there are some others like actuarial science, sometimes economics can also come under STEM. Okay, so but it depends on it varies from university to university and how the program is structured. So check with the university whether the program that you're studying will qualify you for a STEM extension or not. Another aspect of the OPT is that the employers must have something called the E-Verify status by the US government. Okay, and now most of the employers have gone ahead and got this E-Verify status. Most of the employers, all the employers who are interested in taking on international students will be E-Verify status updated. Some of the other things that we have differences between CPT and OPT is when can you use it. CPT is during the academic program. It cannot be used after you graduate. OPT most of the times is used after you graduate. In very rare cases, it can be used before you graduate. Do you have to have a job before you apply for CPT or OPT? For CPT, you have to have the approval. You have to have a given internship The university has to say, yes, the student has to do this internship at this company in order to graduate. For OPT, you can apply for the OPT, the authorization, before you actually have the job. But you cannot start the job before getting the authorization. Okay? We'll talk a little bit about who gives the approvals. For CPT, the approval comes from the university, the designated school official. That is the person at the International Student Office who makes sure all the international students are in status. For the OPT, it comes from the US CIS, United States Citizenship and Immigration Services. The next topic to discuss is, can you work any job during CPT and OPT? And the answer is no. It has to be an integral part of what you studied, both CPT and OPT. The work experience has to be related to the field that you studied. You cannot wander off and do things on your own, something that you have not studied. Okay. The authorization for CPT comes from the university, the International Student Office. For OPT, the International Student Office recommends OPT, but the USCIS gives the approval. And CPT can be used for up to 12 months, whereas the OPT can be used is for 1 year, and then you can get an extension for an additional 24 months. So a total of 36 months if you graduate with a science STEM program. Okay. So what are some of the things you need to keep in mind when you're thinking about OPT? The first thing is that you have to talk to the department, find out if they have the option for you to do CPT, what the CPT involves, okay? And then you have to complete the student section of the CPT application, okay? Once you've done that, then you have to get the letter from the employer stating that they're going to take you, and they'll have to mention your name, the job title, the company's name and address, okay? How long you're going to be working, how many hours a week you're going to be working, and what you're going to be doing when you're at that company. So that information has to come from the employer. Once you have these two things done, then the academic supervisor will complete section 2 of your application. Then you turn this register, because I mentioned that with CPT, you usually have to take classes. So you register for the CPT class if applicable, okay? And once you've done all this, then you turn in your materials. Then you turn in your materials and find, and the International Student Office will look at it and give you the authorization. So it's very important that with CPT, you have to do a lot of things on your own, talk to the department, get the employer's information, a section filled out by the employer, then talk to the designated school official at the International Student and Scholar Services Office, and then you can start your CPT. You cannot do it until the designated school official has given you the authorization. With the OPT, you can apply for OPT up to 90 days before you complete your degree, and up to 4 weeks after you complete your degree. So either you have a window of 90 days before you complete your degree, or 4 weeks after you come, 1 month after you complete. Okay. Technically, you're allowed up to 60 days to file the application after you graduate, but you have to give them at least 1 month to process it. So that's why the recommendation is you file your application either 90 days before you graduate or 1 month after you graduate. You send in your application to the US Citizenship and Immigration Services, USCIS, okay? And they will look at your application and send you what's called the EAD card, the Employment Authorization Document. It looks like a driver's license. And once you've got that, then you can start your OPT. with an authorized, the employer that you're doing the OPT with has to be authorized. When we mean by authorized, they have to be registered on the E-Verify service of the US government. So this is what it looks like, the process. You start off with the student requests the OPT. You talk to the designated school official, the International Student Office. That person has to recommend the OPT. Once the DSO recommends OPT, then the student has to file a form called I-765 with the USCIS. USCIS will adjudicate the I-765 and tell you whether you've been approved or not. If you've been approved, you'll get what is called the EAD card and you can start work. Okay. Once you do that, you still have to report back to the designated school official with your new address or any change in your status. So this is another way of looking at it. So you can start for applying for the CPT, the OPT, 90 days before you graduate. This arrow indicates your graduation day. Up to 3 months before that, you can apply for the OPT, and you can also apply for the OPT within 60 days, okay, after you graduate. You have to start the OPT within 60 days after you graduate. If you do not do that, then you'll lose your status. You'll no longer be in status and you'll have to leave the US. So then you start your OPT, you're given 12 months of the OPT. After that 12 months, you're given 60 days to leave the US. Okay. If you graduate with a degree in science, technology, engineering, or math, then after 9 months of your OPT, that is 90 days before your OPT for initial program ends, the first year, you can apply for the extension. Okay. So, you apply for your OPT either 90 days before you graduate or 60 days after you graduate, but you have to start your OPT within 60 days of your graduation. Then you get 1 year of OPT. After this 1 year is over, you can stay on in the US. You have 60 days to leave the US. You cannot work during those 60 days. That's very, very important. Okay, you're given up to 60 days to wrap things up and leave the US, but no work. And if you graduated with a degree in science, technology, engineering, or math, then you can apply for the extension of the OPT. You should apply for it about 3 months before your initial 1 year period ends, and then that will kick in for an additional 2 years. And even after those 2 years, you're given the same 60 days uh, to leave the US. But please note, just because you're given the 60 days to leave the US doesn't mean that you can work. You cannot work once your OPT period is over. So some things to keep in mind about this. Do not work off campus without the proper authorization. Okay? You have to be authorized for the CPT or you have to be authorized for the OPT before you can work. And make sure that the employers who are hiring you for the CPT, they send in their documents to the designated school official, and for the OPT, they are on the E-Verify system with the US government. Okay, those two things are very important. Do not work beyond the end of your CPT or OPT. Okay, that is during this green section. Once your OPT has hit, you cannot work during that time. And also, it can be very tempting to start your work soon after it. You cannot work until you have received your EAD card for the OPT or you received the approval from the designated school official to start your CPT. In status, and if you're not sure about the status, talk to the designated school official. That is the person who will be guide you into how to maintain your status while in the US. So always understand the rules and stay in status. Okay, it's very, very important. Uh, Attend the orientation sessions by the school. They'll always conduct various sessions uh, on how to apply for the CPT, OPT, and things like that. And if you have questions, ask them. Always ask. Okay? Look for the opportunity to use the CPT and OPT as soon as you arrive. Okay? There's no point in waiting for the last semester and say, okay, now I'm getting ready to graduate. Let me look where can I get my which companies can I do my OPT in. You need to build your contacts right from the start. Okay? Talk to the International Student Office, academic advisors, DSOs, okay, to get the latest information. Information does change from time to time. The DSO will be the person who will have the latest information available. So once you get to the US, find out who the designated school official is and how can you contact that person. It's very, very important. So good luck to all of y'all with your CPT and OPT. We wish you all the best in your higher studies in the US. Tell your friends about Education USA and the services we have for to guide students in the application process. Okay? There's a lot of information available on our Facebook page and on our YouTube channel, as well as the educationusa.state.gov website or the usief.org.in website. So connect with us. We're here to help you all. Uh, I'll be happy to take questions now. Please go ahead and type questions in the box. Okay, I got a couple of questions already. The first question is, when should I start looking for the CPT internship? The issue isn't so much about when you should look for the CPT internship. The issue is more about talking to the department where you're at the university and finding out if they have CPT as an option. Okay, because it's very, very university specific, and even within the university, one department may tell the students they need CPT, the other said they don't need, we don't offer CPT. So find out which, depending on the program you're going to, which university you're going to, whether that school, that university, or that department has the option for students to do CPT. The question is, do you have a list of STEM schools? The question isn't about whether a school is a STEM school or not. The thing your students should be aware of is the program that you're going to study STEM accredited or not? Is it considered a STEM program or not? Usually, to be considered a STEM program, it has to have more than 50% of the courses should be in either science, technology, engineering, or math. Uh, on the ICE website, there is a list of programs that are considered STEM, but we've seen that more recently there are also some MS in marketing programs that they've been tweaked by certain universities to be made STEM. So there are all these options available. So always look for the university, program that you're going to study, talk to the department, talk to the university, whether the program that you're going to study is considered STEM or not. Okay. And if you're going for graduate studies, it's easy because you're going to be talking to one particular department. If you're going for undergraduate studies and you're not sure whether you'll graduate with a STEM degree or not, talk to the faculty advisor who's guiding you with your choice of classes. Okay? That's very, very important. Any other questions?
Ryan, I thought I might just jump in here with a question as well. It's what kind of assistance can a student expect from the university in terms of looking for CPT as well as OPT, and what is the responsibilities the student should bear themselves in their search for opportunities for CPT and OPT?
Uh, what See, all universities, most US universities, put the well-being of their students first, right up front. So they'll have all these events where they'll do presentations. The International Student Office will do presentations and seminars for the international students on things to keep in mind about CPT and OPT. Like we did this talk about the timeline, when you should apply, how to apply, do you need help filling out the I-765 form? All that information will be provided by the university. If you have questions, talk to the international office. With regard to how to find whether there's a CPT available, talk to the universities, more specifically, talk to the department where you're going to graduate from, where you're studying, and find out whether they have a program where you could do CPT. The OPT is it's available for everybody. So with CPT, you have to talk to the department whether they have it or not, and whether you could do the internship, and which companies they'll be happy to do this internship with. The second one with OPT, you know you're getting the OPT for 1 year. The issue is more about you need to build up your network to find that internship or that work position. Okay, it's not going to fall into your lap. The other question is, can you guide for psychology students? So with psychology, it's in the gray area. Most of the times, a psychology program will be non-STEM. However, if there's a lot of uh, very, very rare situations, depending on the courses you take, you can structure a psychology program into a STEM, but it will require taking a lot more of the neurobiology courses and things like that as part of the psychology uh, program. So it can be made into a STEM. So talk to the faculty advisor on how you can structure it so that it becomes STEM. If it is an arts-based, if it is arts-based psychology program, it's the likelihood of it being STEM related, STEM accredited is very low. Again, it's not one of the misconceptions that people have is whether if it's say a BA or an MA, is there any difference between BS or MS? There are minor differences, but the focus should be on not what the degree is called. It is what are the courses you're taking. Are they more the humanities related courses, or are they more the science related courses? That's what's going to determine whether it gets STEM accreditation or not. But generally, if it's an arts-based course, then it'll be non-STEM. So you'll still get 1 year of full-time OPT.
We have time for a couple more questions. If there are any questions, please type them into the chat box or into the question box.
One of the things to keep in mind, again, as I mentioned before, is that the rules keep changing. So talk to the International Student Office once you get there and find out who the designated school official is, and then you'll have the access to the most up-to-date information regarding OPT and CPT.
All right, if there are no further questions, we will draw this webinar to a close. Thanks so much, Ryan, for guiding us through the ins and outs of CPT and OPT, and thank you everyone for attending. Do look out for future webinars. We will be having webinars on topics related to the preparation for studying in the US if you're going in 2019. And if you're going to go later on, then there'll be different webinars on topics related to the application process. So do join us again. Thank you and have a great day.